So welcome back to Picton's Northern Star Floating Circus. This episode, I caught COVID for a week. I was off work for a week. I had to deal with the water in the bilges yet again, twice in fact, due to heavy periods of rain. And I investigate an alternative means of dealing with the bilge water with regard to removal of the oil and hydrocarbon based pollutants. So anyway, I hope you enjoy this. Still nothing to update as far as having the transmission sorted. Still in wait mode and in limbo. Hang around to the end. Hope you enjoy it.
I better get down and have a look and see how much water ended up in the bilge. Right, bilge water container. And we'll try that again. So, pop down and ventilate the boat as well. There's not much I can do now until I end up with the engineer gets back down to the boat. Right, let's open some hatches and windows to get a wee bit of ventilation. I guess it's getting colder, we're getting that condensation again. Let's have a look and see what's in there. There's a fair bit of water in there. It's coming top sides, that torrential rain in the last week. Squeeze down here past the floorboard. Bit of moisture in here as well. Right. Let's go and get this bilge water sucked out. Down there, and let's get everything squared away. I always suck out of here first. It's the lowest point, the bilge, and then I get into the bilge, the back of the engine under the gearbox. I suppose one thing, having sucking the water out will get rid of some of the oil and crap that leaked into it. Oh, it didn't take long to fill that up. So not as oily as it was, but it's saying the engine hasn't been running either, so oh, yuck, yum yum yum. Hook out a bit in this thing here. Oh, God's sake, I hate that. It's all well and good hooking it out of there, but by the time I lift it up and try and tip it in and spill most of it over my feet, I might as well just hook out most of it like that. As I said, we had some absolutely torrential, horrible rain the last few days. It was a bit better yesterday. It's probably about 11 litres come out of there.
Well, you wouldn't believe it. I just got my thinking glasses back into the fucking bilge again. Pardon my French, but what I will do though, I will just leave that there. There's a little bit seeping down. There's a bit coming aft through that and around that poorly installed rod holder that someone put into the deck. Doesn't sit flush with the deck. Water comes in around there. Usually I have the dinghy a little bit forward, a little bit further aft than what it is, which covers it up so I can get quite as much water coming in, but it's trickling down and through here, and the rest of it's coming down through the side here. A little bit of it coming in around this window here is missing putty. As you'll see around the other side there, I need to actually get some sealant around it. And again, you'll see the sealant's missing from around the window there. And someone's put a piece of glass on there, but it's never really been finished properly, so you get a little bit of water hitting the end there, and it's coming through there as well, and it's coming in around there. And normally I have this sitting back a bit further. I don't know if I can smell diesel in that at all. It smells pretty oily to me. I mean, given the amount of diesel that would be in it to raise the level that high, I would have thought the smell of it would be a wee bit stronger than what it is. Possibly need to, although I don't know, I'll take that off there, I don't know. But yeah, there's nowhere really obvious that I can see the oil in that coming from. You'll see there's some of the footage from the engine room where I dipped the dipstick and had a good sniff of the oil. I couldn't smell any diesel in it. All I could smell was the oil. In saying that, I don't have a super nose, and I don't know whether I would notice that. I did it several times. The bottom line is, I would have thought that if there was the quantity of diesel in the oil to have increased the level that far, that I would be able to smell it. All I can smell is oil. Questionable technique, needs to be tested. I did pass that suggestion on, my last email, to the engineer. Unfortunately now 4 weeks down the track, after taking it for a good run, he was going to get down, he was going to adjust the gearbox, blah blah blah. I'm still waiting. I've passed on the suggestion from one of you guys out there that it could be a leaking injector line or leaking injector, letting diesel into the crankcase and causing the rise in oil level. I haven't heard back, pretty much a week later from him. Look, I know he's not on email every day, but it seems that when it's even put to the main email box, it seems to be a very big delay before there's any response. So here I am, waiting, getting a little bit irritated. You know, paying a fortune to having the boat in the marina, a boat that I can't use, a boat I can't carry on and do much with. I want to start looking at the exhaust and muffler inside the dry stack, but I can't really pull all that to bits until they've come along and done what they need to do. I'm anticipating that probably what's going to happen, they're going to come along, there's probably going to be diesel in the oil, it's probably going to be something dramatic involving injectors and fuel lines, and it's probably going to cost me piles more money on top of weeks and weeks of waiting for the work to get done. That's at a guess. I might be becoming a little bit pessimistic, but yeah, I'm not particularly overly endowed with optimism at the moment with the way that the whole journey has started to turn out. So I'm feeling a little bit frustrated, and yeah, I'm sorry folks, venting a little bit, and I hope you can understand. I hoped to have the gearbox sorted and to be able to get the boat on and off and out of the berth and etc. and use it, but there's just one drama after the next. I'm going to go and have a little bit of a look at the screws holding the dry stack down. Seems to be a number of screws. There's probably some sealant or glue holding it as well. I just want to see if the screws are going to come out, if it can be loosened up quickly.
because I'm sorely tempted to either do the job myself or pop down the road. There's a retired engineer, and have a chat with him and see if he wants to do a little bit of retirement work and give me a hand with it. Or simply I just do the whole lot myself and just get the bit made up and install it myself, which would probably make more sense given how much everything seems to bloody cost these days. So anyhow, look, and I know it's our choice, and it was our choice to buy a boat. The motor is bloody great. It's just been every other fecking drama under the sun that just seems to be creating the frustration and the issues. Now, I do happen to wonder really though, if I had not brought it into the marina and just carried on using the boat, whether there would ever have been a problem, whether it would have gone for another 20 years before there was an issue, and whether or not maybe having some of the work done, particularly on the gearbox, was created more problems than it solved. Who knows? I trust not. You know, you take advice from people that know their stuff and know all about this sort of stuff. Apparently it was an issue, needed to be sorted, thought it had been sorted, sort of has been, but it's like playing whack-a-mole with everything. So that's my bleat over and done with for the moment. I don't really know how much footage I'm going to be able to post of any real interest, and I'm sorely tempted to hunt around and find another diesel engineer or mechanic, and whether they can come down to have a look at the boat for me. So as you can see here, some screws through down here. It's all sitting part of the structure, sitting on top of an elevated block, and I'm hoping that with those removed down here, that's the drumstick. Can we maybe lift it up out of the way, and everything internally accessed, and I can get an idea of what's inside there as far as an exhaust pipe and a muffler goes, and get something manufactured. And when I do, it will be a continuous piece of pipe with a cap on it, that a flapper with a tractor flap that'll keep the water out. And when it's off, to go in behind here and treat this wood here and grind it back and get some fiberglass in there to seal it all up properly. As you can see, it's just been a fantastic job somebody's done, joining everything together and making an addition to stuff. With the exception of a couple of them around the other side that are stripped out in there. It looks as though that will be this point. It should be quite nice. We can actually get that off. We should be able to get off myself, although I would imagine it'll be fairly heavy. And will probably require me to just remove the sorry, I was just looking at that. I couldn't quite work out why the solar panel was bending up, but then I worked out it's actually an optical illusion with the curved glass. It's not actually bending at all. So I'm probably going to need to remove this so it can work. Put a strap or a strap on these other two screws off the side here, get it loosened off, and put a strap around the bottom there and lift it off. So it's going to be, imagine, be fairly substantial when you look at it like that. To lift it up and over the top, and I anticipate probably what's going to happen is that the internals are probably going to collapse because they're effectively resting against the, you can hear it there, resting against the inside, and that was that rattle I could hear while we were out. So I'm quite happy that that's probably going to be a little bit easier to remove. At least two around the side here. That one and that one are stripped inside. I'm probably going to have to drill those off and put a pair of vice grips on them to wind them out once this is out of the way. But that'll give me access in behind all of here. There's some rot areas in here, as you can see in there. Needs to be treated, dried out and treated. And funnily enough, it's the newer plywood that's caused the issue. It's not the original ply or timbers. There's a couple of little holes in here. Water's got in, but this looks like it's been a replacement panel in here as well. And this is where I'm anticipating the water's coming from, pouring off here, it's getting in here, running down the side of the cupboards here and into the bilge. So yeah, so that's pretty much, it's going to come off. I need to do that back up again, and that may be a job. I may email the engineer and just say, okay, if you're not going to be down for a few weeks, let me know and I'll get someone down to give me a hand to take this off, and we'll get this sorted first.
Another beautiful day after another 36 hours worth of heavy rain, just heading back down to the boat.
It's a gorgeous day today.
On a beautiful day like this, an absolute cracker in God's own, where on earth would you much rather be than here in the beautiful Marlborough Sounds, top of the South Island, New Zealand?
Then we have a seal. Oh, she's a beautiful day today. I'm just down at the boat. We've had some very heavy rain last couple of days. Just a seal just popped down onto the seawall there. Obviously wasn't too happy with the excitement. Just wonder where he'll pop up next. Anyhow, so I'm just down. I have been down for over a week. I've just had a touch of COVID. Just getting over it at the moment. Hoping to be well enough to get back to work tomorrow. Yeah, so here we are. Going to suck the bilges out and get rid of the wastewater. Right, well the container was pretty much 3/4 full. I've just probably put 8-9 litres in there. It's time to get rid of it. Right, these are the facilities. Dirty bilge water. Right, got to get that into there now. But as you can see, there's pretty good facilities here.
There was the old seal heading back out of the marina in a way. Probably a bit noisy and busy for it at the moment, but I was sort of watching it, wondering whether it was going to jump out onto one of the pontoons or the back of one of those boats. But yeah, I was a wee bit disappointed it didn't. But great fun though.
So probably about 25 litres of, or 30 litres I would imagine. Just that lost a whole lot on there.
I got a little bit distracted by this other beautiful old launch coming back into the marina. The skipper manoeuvring her and getting her ready to go back into her berth backwards. Haven't been up to much lately, unfortunately. I've had a bit of a dose of COVID, not a bad one, but it's still been pretty much sufficient to take the wind out of my sails with pretty much a week off work. I came down with it on Friday night, so I spent the weekend with it. Headaches and a cough, and a hurt to cough and swallow, sore throat, all the usual drama. A bit croaky with it still, particularly noticeable at night, feeling a bit tired and a bit chilled. So there's not been a lot to go on here. And of course, along with that, there's been the usual pessimism. I've been down here. The engineer still hasn't been back to sort the gearbox issue out or check the oil for diesel in it. I've noticed a new issue again is that I noticed my starboard side fuel tank is empty. It seems to have all transferred across to the port side. And the boat's on a little bit of a list to the port side. The tank on the port side is well over 3/4 full. I don't know what's going on there. They used to counterbalance each other and self-level, but they don't seem to be doing it. So the only thing I can think of is that possibly the new system with the new diesel fuel separator, somehow there might be a valve in there that's preventing the fuel from backflowing. The overflow fuel that's from the motor that's not being used is discharging into the starboard tank, and it's been drawing from into the port tank, and it's been drawing from the starboard tank. It's something I'm going to have to need to address, either some form of transfer system, electrical pump transfer system from one to the other to ensure the boat stays level and well balanced, or sort out why it's happening and resolve that issue. But jury's out. I'll work my way through that problem. Yet another problem to work my way through. I've already made inquiries and thought seriously about moving the boat on for well under what I purchased her for, with the long-term view that I'm a bit time poor and struggling a little bit with motivation and time to do the work that needs to be done, and the money that I've spent to date and the money that I'm going to spend on it in the very near future. Whether or not the old boat might be better off going to someone else that has that time to be able to do the work. And look, I don't mind spending the money on the boat. She's an old girl and well worth preserving, but it's just the fact that I just don't have enough hours in the week at the moment or for the foreseeable future. There's also the issue around the boat was bought as a project to do with my late wife. Unfortunately not going to happen for obvious reasons, and that's taken a little bit of my motivation and go-get-em attitude away from me. So not wanting to appear to be much of a moaner, but I'm also sick and tired of waiting for work to be done. While I was editing this episode, I received some contact from Jeff from JAG RV Marine Electrical, based over in Wellington, and he was sort of offering a hand as far as any advice or anything like that goes around the wiring, and potentially going to come across to Picton at some stage in the future and will give me a hand to rewire Northern Star and get things sorted out. Really lovely talking to you, Jeff. It's just totally made my day, made my week, and made me realise that I'm not ready to get rid of Northern Star just yet, and I'm going to carry on the journey. Cheers, mate. I've had no response to my last 2 emails from Seafarer Marine. They assure me they're going to come down and do the final adjustment on the gearbox and check the oil and that sort of thing, and I'm yet to hear back. My last contact with them, I sent them an email asking for some indication as to time because I need to work on the exhaust muffler in the dry stack, and I don't want to pull it all to bits, meaning that they can't start the engine to do what they need to do to run it and check the oil in the transmission and that sort of drama. So yeah, I'm a bit only a bit cynical, a bit sceptical about that, and starting to run out of patience. Down today, you will see later in the episode I removed some more water, a fair bit of water. We had a period of very, very heavy rain over about 36 hours, and the water's made its way in. A lot of water, well in my view a lot of water, 25 litres I removed with a wet vacs and down to the bilge water disposal area, and coming through all the usual places, including at the top of the dry stack. Of course, the sealing tape that I put up there with the tar on the back of it had melted last time we went out for a sea trial and would have exposed the hole, so there would have been a fair bit of water coming in that side as well. Now, as part of that, and wet vaxing out the bilges and walking around marinas and smelling the oil and diesel and waters and the water from time to time, it got my mind to thinking there must be some way to avoid that. Now there is, and as part of that was a acceptable international standard. You know, I'm just going to pull some notes out because I've actually ended up ordering a bilge filter system for an outfit there, and funnily enough not readily available here in New Zealand, which shows how far behind the 8 ball we are actually around treating our wastewater from our bilges. At the moment, most of it goes over the side of the boat. I would dare say probably a minority of it goes where I put it, and it's really evident after heavy rain when you walk around across the other side of the mooring field and smell the diesel and oil in the water and see the sheen on top and through the marina here. So what I've found is called a wave stream system. It's a system where there's a bit like pretty much a cartridge inside a container. And what they've done is apparently magnetised the filter. It's capable of containing 3 times the same weight in oil and hydrocarbons. So it pumps water from the bilge pump through the internals in the filter, then back out, and basically what you're getting at the other end is clean water. So they say, but there seems to be quite a lot of comparable options and versions of this overseas, and particularly in the UK, and I managed to find one that's been recommended as a System 2, a WSS2 for this size of boat over in Australia. They have the same pollution and anti-pollution standards as we have over here, and it's basically through MARPOL, which is the Marine Pollution Authority. We're a part of that. Over 90 countries around the world have signed up to it. They talk about the legal amount of 15 parts per million you're allowed to do discharge over the side of a boat. And that was described to me, and I'm only quoting, I don't know whether this is correct or not, that 1 drop of diesel in half a litre of water is 40 parts per million, which is well over the legal limit. Now, I think you'll all probably agree, pragmatically, there's no way, without the assistance of any form of filtering system, that the water in any of our bilges in any boat are probably going to reach that level. So effectively, in accordance with that, we're all supposedly illegal. Now, this does not seem to be a very popular thing in New Zealand. Most boats are just pumping stuff straight over the side, whether it be sitting in a marina or out on a mooring. And I also understand that what was tipped as being quite a lucrative industry, particularly with the suppliers of these types of systems, in the southern hemisphere here has not taken off, and in fact the Australian supplier, I think, aren't too hopeful, aren't going to be doing it for much longer. It's just something that hasn't taken off, and I think the problem being is the additional cost of installing these and maintaining them. Generally, under normal usage, one cartridge should last a season, but the water that comes out the other end of it is clean. The system that's been recommended for Northern Star is about $500 worth of kit. That's obviously with the conversion to Australian dollars and includes freight. So while I'm sort of in two minds whether to do it, I think it's worth a crack, and particularly if I install it for the bilge water on Northern Star, but I also use it in addition with some trays, drip trays, under the engine in the areas where the leak's coming from. This should ensure that the water is got minimal contaminants in it when it's been pumped over the side on the or using the automatic bilge pump, which, as you can imagine, could be a problem with a lot of boats sitting with an automatic bilge pump, heavy rain, or if they develop a leak, there's oil and diesel in the bilge, it's going to go straight over the side. The person's not even going to be there or aware of it. Right, well, there's the diesel fuel filter water separator. There's the feed to the motor there. The two feed from each tank to a T section there and to the other side. Here is the overflow excess diesel back up through there and into the tank, and I don't know if you can see it there. So this is a tank on the port side, and the fuel level is way the heck up there. Normally it's been around here. So what's happened is it's drained the diesel from the starboard tank for some reason, use that first, and then throw in what the engine hasn't needed when we used it, and we've been running it back into this tank here. So I don't quite understand that. The valves are all open. It's all open there. Same as the other side. So one would have thought it would have drawn the fuel from the shortest distance there first, rather than through the longest distance, which runs right across the bulkhead there. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if there is potentially a valve or something. I wouldn't have thought so. And here, I don't know. No, you can see right there what I'm talking about. Wouldn't imagine that there would be a valve in there. Those just look like standard fittings. The only thing I can think of maybe is there a blockage in here. I wouldn't have thought so. Wouldn't have thought so at all, but yeah. Who knows? But anyway, so the boat is on a little bit of a list because of that, because of the fuel in the starboard side of the tank has basically been pulled over, and what hasn't been used is being thrown into the port tank. Right, excuse the panting and puffing, I'm still a bit blocked up. Here is the starboard side. It's open. That's the gauge. You'll see on the port side it was up to about there. Usually they sit around here. Everything's drained out of this tank from what I can see. Gone over there. There's the outlet, which is obviously open. And shutting it. Up along the bulkhead, you can see it there running under the bulkhead and behind the power steering.
autopilot, and over there to that fitting. So why it's not self-leveling, I don't know. The only thing I can think of is that there's just simply not enough pressure to bring it back, and there's something in that fitting over there that's preventing it, the diesel, from flowing back into the tank and backfilling. So there may very well be a one-way valve in there, although in saying that, the two lines are connected to that T-fitting above the diesel water separator. So I don't know, so whether or not there's just simply not enough fuel in the tank to self-level, and it's drawing from one over preference to the other, I don't know. Sort of a bit strange. You'd think it would take the fuel the shortest possible route, being from the other tank. So that's the drama there. I don't quite know what's going on, and it's a bit of a puzzle. Well, 4 days later, it's Sunday, I've decided to head back down to the boat and do a quick job. That rear window in the wheelhouse that I've previously shown, without any putty in it. Water hits that, weather hits that, coming up from the south, and there's been quite a bit of water leaking in through that and down into the aft cabin, which ends up in the bilge. It's not good, and I've decided to sort it out and deal with that today. As you can see there, this water's coming in, so I'm going to put some tape there and put a bit of Sikaflex around there. And I've got the 295 because I've used that before and I know it's very, very good, and it will last for years and years and years exposed to the weather. So yeah, so I will get a bit of footage while I'm doing it. It's a bit windy out there today. I may not get a lot, but I'll just take some footage as I go through stage by stage and mask it up and then get the sealant on. Let's get into it. Yep, I need to take that out, and that out, and that out, and that out. But I don't really want the window falling out, so may need to be a little bit. Oh, shouldn't. It's got a little bit of silicone or something in there. Stop it. So let's do that. Alright, not the greatest job, but not the worst ever. For a bit of a quick job, that sealed that up anyway. It's probably better than using putty. There's a couple of soft spots here. A little bit of a one there, and definitely one round here. See the joins in the plywood where this water's got sitting around here.
Well, hiya, that brings us to the end of another episode. A little bit longer than I thought it would be. But anyhow, another quick check of the mooring lines before I head home. There's more heavy wind and rain predicted for the area in the coming week to week and a half. So just to make sure that everything's tickety-boo before I bugger off and go home. Anyhow, hope you've enjoyed this episode. Hope you come back to see the next one. And as always, click like, subscribe, share. Not that it does anything for me at all. However, due to these mysterious things called algorithms, it might mean that my content gets recommended to other people to watch. So anyway, as usual, get out there and do it before it does it to you.